Hi there, welcome to another episode of Scrooge Bob-Omb Commentaries. My name is David, Baron von Fabulous Lark,
I'm Callum, the good Doctor Young.
and we are bringing you round 5 of the group stages of Keyforge Premier League Season 2. Do you want to tell us who's playing today, Callum?
Today we are looking at GJ999 of the Manchester Mavericks and Kidmanxdx from Crazy Killing Aubergine.
I love that name so much.
Do you like the name? That's a good team name.
It's a
I was
strong
very
name.
happy to see this when making my notes. But we're going to start with George's decks from the Mavericks.
Indeed we are. So yeah, first deck we're going to look at today is Tenebris of Lobaroom Prison.
Yes, and I can pretty much only really describe this as Edai shenanigans.
Shenanigans indeed.
Some severe shenanigans, because basically what you're looking to do with this deck is play Edai lots of times, archive up pretty much all of your discards, except perhaps Exhume, and make your opponent's keys an unaffordably high price.
Yeah, we kind of saw this in one of the previous games we recorded of George, where he very much managed to do this, get the hooks in, and just, I think the keys were costing, what, like 17 by the end, and just kept cycling around Tautar Vapors and Tropic Swirls, that kind of thing.
I mean, 17 was cheap, to be honest. It gets up to like 30.
Yeah.
So you've got multiple Edais. Yeah, and you just play the same 5 or 6 Logos cards all at the same time. You've got some other archiving in the other houses with the Information Officer Grey and occasionally the Library of the Damned. And the Starlight's board in itself is not nothing, right? Because you've got the Walses, the Ingram, the Grey, and can sort of get some reap efficiency there. But mostly it's just going to be piling the distant archives and making it impossible for you to win.
Yeah, and it's also just got good ways of kind of messing with your opponent to like kind of bloodshot him to stop them reaping. You've got the red alerts, you've got the Harbinger of Dooms, really good board clear. So while you are just building up that archive and kind of getting rid of the kind of chaff cards you don't need, you can just kind of keep clearing your opponent's board, keep disrupting them, and yeah.
And you can go through your answers pretty quickly because, as we noted earlier, this deck has 20 speed and 5.4 recursion, and that 20 speed makes it twice as fast as all of the other decks in this match, both George's and Kidman's combined.
Yes, this is going to be some slow-mo Keyforge today.
Yes, but not necessarily bad Keyforge because we've got some quite spicy decks coming up.
Definitely not at all. And the second spicy deck we're going to look at is Razormare, the Plunderer of the Emptiness, which is the slowest deck at negative 1.5 speed.
So that means you pretty much have to work with the hands that you're given, but you're going to get given some pretty good hands.
You are indeed, yeah.
A lot of good coda stuff here. So the Dis, you've got huge amounts of disruption. So you've got control the weeks.
Yeah.
You've got Restoring Guntus for the lockouts. You've got a Snudge to start bouncing stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of board clear in the Tendrils and the Gateway.
It's very much the principle of why do I need to go fast when I'm going to make my opponent go very slow?
Shudder. And the Sanctum is just pretty consistent because there's a lot of doubles. You've got 2 Terms of Redress for some capture. You've got 2 Lady Maxina, which you don't see much of. I'm surprised that doesn't come up more, but obviously just play, stun a creature, and you can keep doing that every turn if you want.
Kind of. I think the other thing with this, like Blinding Light 2, is that stunning is a thing that isn't talked about too much in Keyforge, but can be like almost more effective than destroying a creature sometimes. Like if you destroy a creature, someone can exhume it, someone can redraw it, get its play effect, someone can kind of do a lot of things with it. If it's stunned, you have to take a turn to unstun it and then take another turn after that. It's almost kind of harder to use in some senses as a result.
Yeah, it wasn't the biggest card in Koa, but it's become so much better as sets have gone on.
Indeed, it has.
And then we have a nice Jehu the Bureaucrat. You can start generating quite a bit of Emperor with those chonky Sanctum boards if they stick.
Well, maybe you haven't seen too often. It's after you choose Sanctum as your active house, gain 2.
And it's just irritating, right? 3 is like potentially hard to remove. You've got some stuff like the shoulder armor to make it stick, perhaps. And we'll just keep giving you 2 Ember every time you call Sanctum, which is not nothing.
And then finally in the shadows, double ghostly hand, got some great hits.
Shadows.
Relentless Whispers, really good to just kind of get rid of like little small creatures, and with stuff like Smiling Ruth and an Urchin that you don't mind kind of getting rid of your own creatures with, definitely can do that. Double Moon Cursor as well, a card that can really do damage if you don't have, say, like some little bits of damage to remove it. Smiling Roots.
9 sets of doubles in this deck, so it's the consistency that it will produce is going to be pretty great.
Yeah, and I think that again, that's the thing. Like, although it's a slow deck, it's not an inconsistent deck. As a result of that, is that you're pretty sure you're going to be getting those cards that you need, kind of at the times you need them. As a result,
maybe you get unlucky and something like TMTP gets stuck at the bottom, or you can't find a board clear when you need one. But 19 creature control, 11 Ember control, you probably have enough time to find stuff.
Yeah, just one thing to note is that 18 pips in this deck.
And 30 expected Ember as well. Yeah. Like, we've talked about how much it will stop your opponent. But in doing so, and just playing the cards that you have, you will also generate a lot of Ember.
Yeah, I think this was like the kind of bit that isn't always discussed about Coder. It's just the amount of cards that probably have Ember pips on that just don't really need to have Ember pips on. You know, like Control the Weak, like, great card, doesn't really need Ember pip. Ghostly Hand,
only need Ember pip.
Why does it need 2? One
would have been fine. Like, get one, steal one. Why do you need an Ember? Like, Relentless Whispers.
Yeah.
You steal an Ember and kill a thing by playing it. Why do you have to give it another Ember pip?
Yeah, too much protect. You're already like stealing a lot of your opponent's Ember, but here's an Ember pip just in case.
Coda.
Coda.
Why are you like this? Moving on from Coda, thank God. Let's look at George's third deck, which is Charlatan Feodora Turbo Smack. Turbo Smack, as it's pretty enjoyably known.
It is.
So this is Mass Mutation, and you're looking at some Mutant Rush and some stealing.
Yeah.
So you've got the Dav, you've got 2 Vault's Blessings, and you've got 10 mutants.
You do. You also have the you also, like, with this kind of deck as well, this is the kind of deck that you've got to really hope that your opponent is not playing Mass Mutation. Because if your opponent is not playing Mass Mutation with this deck, you can just go absolute ham with it.
Yeah, it gets so much better.
Especially as well, like, kind of like Borrow becomes like so crucial in these kind of matchups. Unfortunately, you do have a Borrow to kind of like take back your Ember Vault if it gets stolen, which I think probably is something that will always be first on someone's list if they are playing some Mass Mutation. But I think kind of like you focus on the Untamed and Shadows with good reason, but this Saurian's nothing to sniff at either.
Yeah, the Saurian will stall very well, right? A lot of the sort of Ember manipulation stuff you get with Mass Mutation Saurian, right? So double Axioms, good clear.
Ancient Powers as well, always nice to see.
Faust, Spoils of Battle is obviously great Ember control.
Yeah.
Top off with a Ludo just to keep that safe. So Saurian's pretty good.
Exactly.
The Shadows, I wanted to highlight because you have a really interesting thing where you have the Dav, you have a whole bunch of Shadows mutants. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5, 6, 5, and then they will just sit on the board because they'll be 5 power and annoying and not worth removing until you hit with the Heist Knight.
Yeah. I have a deck that's similar to this that has a Dav and has a Heist Knight, and the amount of times, especially where you've got stuff like Mutant Cutpurses and kind of subtle autos that people look at and say, like, I can't be bothered to get rid of that.
It's just very rarely worth fighting a 5 power Mutant Cutpurse off the board.
Especially when you can kind of see like stuff like Cephalo with Stark Fairies, Fandangles. That you're like,
much bigger.
Faustigrates, much scarier, and you're just like, I'll leave that. And also stuff like Rad Penny that you actively don't want to kill because it goes back to the deck. Suddenly, Heist Knight's doing 6-year Ember. What are you going to do about it?
Did want to flag the Word of Returning.
So, Word of Returning. Deal 1 damage to each enemy creature with Ember on it. Move each Ember from those creatures to your pool.
And we're looking at 2 Saurian decks that Kidman's running with. So that could potentially be very useful.
Yeah. So, speaking of Kidman, let's have a look at their decks.
The Devils. This is Kidman from Portugal, playing for Crazy Killing Aubergine. Just want to say that again.
Fair enough.
And the first deck that they're playing is Wordfoot, the Chieftain Boss.
It is indeed. And I am excited because it has Scylla and Charybdis, and those are 2 of my favorite cards because they're really cool. And
yeah, it will slow you down no end, this deck. 20 Ember control is massive. So you've got Spoils of Battle. You've got 3 Theros Centurions.
Yeah, along with 2 Ludos as well, just to make sure.
You're not getting that back. You've got a Citizen Shrix. You've got, I said Spoils of Battle, but you move into the Dis, and you're looking at Infernus, double Mindfire, double Waking Nightmare, Brabble, Snorette. Just will keep coming.
Good old Infernus there as well, just to,
Yep. So just will take your Ember away from you in a pretty consistent rate.
Yeah, and then the Untamed is got some pretty good ways of generating Ember in it too. You
Yeah, it'll go
got
quick.
your Dark Fairies, got your Fandangles, got Ghost Hawks with not the best reap effects in the world, but if you can hit like a Citizen Tricks, can be pretty nice, but just useful things too. Lost in the Woods, Reclaimed by Nature,
Yeah.
Savage Clashes.
It's also just stuff like you've got 24 creatures, so there's a chance you just make a big board
Yeah.
that your opponent can't deal with, and then your Ghost Hawks are just getting like 2 reaps each.
Yeah, one card that I think is a bit of a not amazing in this is Dark Queen Gloriana. Is play return a
Yeah.
friendly non-entering creature to your hand. There's quite a few creatures, firstly, that you maybe don't want to return. You can be you don't want to return a creature. So, like Theros Centurions, classic one you probably don't want to be returning. Citizen Tricksters as well. Um, and with a deck this slow too, this could be a card that someone's
Yeah.
just not wanting to play.
I could see that being a toss 90% of the time, unless you want to pick up an Infernus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where like if you've already got a hand with quite a bit of dis in, and you've like somehow just had an Infernus just left on the board kicking around, then yeah, it's worth doing at that point. But I feel like Dark Queen Gloriana can be a bit of a tricky one to play, especially in slower
Yeah,
decks like this.
you've got you've got Ember to spare as well.
Mm,
Oh, so you've got creatures to spare, so you don't
exactly.
necessarily need it.
So
And it does have 20 expected Ember, which is not nothing.
it's definitely not nothing. So
Uh,
second deck we'll look at is Leakim Runtly Guardian.
yes, and here we see something interesting because we see Kota Mars, which you
Dude,
don't often see at the highest level. You see a lot of AoA Mars, but not so much the Coda.
don't know.
And I think it's the high creature control that's basically getting this to where it is. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking
so
at kind of gateway to disses in Dis, you've got kind of ammonia clouds
yeah,
twice in Mars.
double deep probe could be hugely problematic.
Yeah, Guilty Hearts in the current meta with a lot of capture based stuff, especially for a mass mutation, is great in
Yeah,
a
and
deck
we're
like
looking
this.
at George's got Mass Mutation Saurian deck and a Sanctum deck where the capture is going to be potentially knocking about as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then just Chonk, right? So you've got 2 Tunks, a Dominator, a Chuff Ape, all
Yeah,
just massive creatures.
yeah, Fighty Mars not really something you usually expect to see,
No, it's
but
normally little Reapy Mars, but no, these are gonna throw down.
yeah,
They're gonna throw fists.
yeah, they definitely are. And I think that's the thing that's really good about the Mars is you've got this double ammonia class, but your creatures are so big and so easy to kind of heal with stuff like the Tunks and the Chuff Apes that you can like afford to throw around those ammonia clouds with some like with relatively free abandon. Get rid of your
Yeah,
opponent's creatures with those ammonia clouds stuff like the mass abductions.
it's potentially a really interesting Mars lineup. I could see it doing a lot of cool things.
Yeah, one thing I maybe say is a trouble with this deck is you've got some ways of kind of slowing your opponent down with stuff like your miasmas, with stuff like your last your broken dreams and your key hammers, but it's the kind of thing where like they are just going to eventually forge, and it's whether this deck can generate enough ember quick enough where you can just kind of like stall long enough to still win.
I could see it happening. You've got 25 expected Ember, you've got 16 pips alone before you get into the sort of Coat of Shadows stuff with the Ghostly Hands and the Relentless Whispers. So I could definitely see it happening.
Mhm.
And the
Indeed.
Lash to potentially stall that as well.
Yeah, indeed it could. And so, last but by no means least, we have Amma W Russet Fighter.
Yeah, so this deck has been banned 4 times in 4 matches so
I can
far.
see why.
Yeah, you can see why, and I think we'll start with the Saurians.
It's the
So we have
speed. It's the blistering speed, right? It's the 3.5 speed that just terrified people.
no, it's the double 6-7. It's the double tribute 6-7 again.
Oh, right, yeah.
We've seen this a lot in the
Right, yeah.
KFPL. There are quite a few of this copies of this combo knocking around,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's just quite good and potentially game winning on the face of it. And that's before you get into the rest of the Saurians, which is also pretty handy, right? So Imperium, City State Interest, Chant of Hubris, all sorts of things like
Yeah,
that.
my one concern with this is, and there's kind of a way to get Ember back with you too much to protect, but it's risky, is what I'd say this deck is, because it's 3.5 speed, so not the fastest deck, which means that you really have to play into getting that combo to go off. And I think if you're an opponent here, I think like this deck looks really, really scary, and it definitely is, and I think you definitely can just see some games just won and lost by the Tribute 6 Emperor. But you have to rely on this deck drawing into that.
Yeah,
And I
but
can't see it always doing that.
no one has yet tried to find out though. That's the thing.
It's true. Yeah, and I can completely understand why. I mean, it's also got
Uh,
like the other houses, like the Saurian look terrifying, but the other houses are nothing to
are
sniff at
pretty
either.
good. Yeah, like
You know, Double Hawk can kind of win some games against really artifact heavy decks. You
say
know,
Dav.
yeah,
Um,
a couple of subtle chains with the Chain Gang too can just get a lot of steel going on. Just keep knocking
it's
your
not.
opponent off and off and off check until you
It's
just
not. It's
frustrate
not
them
even
into
the.
too much
It's not.
protecting.
It's not even the steal that worries me so much about that. It's the constant hand discarding. That's what
Exactly.
always,
Yeah.
I find good about the subtle chain gang combo. If you like play one, discard a card, shuffle it back in your deck, discard a card the next turn, do it again, and
Yeah.
it gets very frustrating.
And just really good burst in the Untamed too. Like you got a lot of creatures that are just gonna stick around on the board, whether it's because they're like elusive in the case of some of the Vinders, or whether they're just like big in the case of like the Brewston Auxiliaries and the Paraguardians, made even bigger with a double Pampaka Anger. That you can
Um,
like definitely get some explosive turns out of an Untamed, and with the unnatural selections for the controlling your opponent's
yeah,
board, I can definitely see this deck isn't just like a 6 Emperor tribute vehicle, and has some tricks outside of that too.
I mean, there's 25 expected Ember, right? Only some of that's from 6 tribute. Um, the double pen back, I think, greatly aids the 6 Emperor combo. It makes it much easier for your creatures to be the biggest.
Very true.
And yeah, I think it's good all round.
Definitely. So
It's gonna,
let's talk about bans then, Callum. We'll talk about the decks in front of us first. So what would you ban in this scenario? I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway.
yeah, I mean, I'm not the most impartial ban choice due to my intense hatred of Saurians, but I think I go with the 4 other KFPL players that have banned Amma W Russet Fighter.
Yeah.
Because I think it's fast. It's the thing is about 6 Emperor Tribute. Obviously, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's something that if it goes off can cause you to just straight lose. Like the sheer size of the Ember swing involved means you can just be put in an unassailable position. And I also think if you're George looking at double unnatural selection and um, a few decks that kind of want chonk, right? You're looking at Charlatan Turbo Smack that wants to have big boards for sort of the Heist Knight and the Vault's Blessings.
Mhm.
You're looking at Razormere, which has a sort of big sanctum that it kind of wants to stick about, and Tenebris, which does Edai shenanigans. And so I think you get rid of Amma, both because of the 6 Emperor tribute and because of the double and natural selections.
Yeah.
Hawk too, as well, obviously. Because of the
Yeah, I mean,
Dav.
I'd agree with you mainly because I tend to play like quite board focused decks, really, and as a result, like that double unnatural selection is just generally quite scary. And as well, I think this deck definitely has some abilities to just kind of like stand and bang and fight your opponents off the board too, with those double Pampakas. Okay, we'll look at George's decks now and decide which we would ban from there. Um,
It's, I'm not sure, and it's interesting because we've kind of seen from some previous games that like Tenebris, if you know what it's going to do, it's a very different decision to if you don't, right? So you can look at it and go, ah, 3 Edis, that's kind of annoying, but I can deal with that. But then it's whether you can deal with the full absolute nonsense that it puts out. So I think if Kidman has perhaps seen one of our excellent previous videos and is aware of this or has worked it out himself, possibly, which is possible, then he could ban Tenebris because I think it's just too problematic for several of the stacks.
Yeah, I think if you're Kidman as well, you've got to be aware that there is some trick to Tenebris, whether he's figured out or not. And with 20 speed, you've just got to think whatever he's going to try be doing and trying to set up, he's going to do so much quicker than my decks can manage because, just not got fast decks. And I just don't want to let him just have a deck that's definitely going to outrun me. And as a result, I'd
Yeah,
probably ban Tenebris and just think, right, well, I can just kind of battle with Razormare and Turbo Smack.
yeah. Like I also have multiple decks that are fast, have removal, and have big Amber generation control.
Yeah.
So you just gotta punch it out.
So yeah, I can see as a result Tenebris being banned. But let's see if we are correct as we move on to the game portion of the episode. See you in a
Get
second.
type.
Indeed.
That makes sense.
So welcome to the game portion of the episode. On the top of the screen, we have Kidmanxdx playing Weirdfoot, the Chieftain Boss. And at the bottom of the screen, we have GJ999 playing Tenebris of Lobaroon Prison. We see a Charybdis straight off the bat, and each enemy creature gains before fight, lose one. Response with a First Officer Frayne, Light of the Archons, and a Chief Engineer Walls.
Could be a long one because I think both decks are looking to stop a lot of keys. Tenebris is Edai shenanigans, making your keys incredibly expensive. Weirdfoot is endless Ember control.
Indeed. Not great turn there from Kidman. Only going to play a Ghost Hawk for 1 Reap and a Glory Islands of 10. Probably not going through with that. Do see the Poltergeist and the Candle unit from George. Are there any, actually? I don't think there are any artifacts in the deck at all, so it makes sense getting rid of that Poltergeist nice and early.
And playing a Maverick Candle unit.
It is, indeed is a Maverick Candle unit. Your eyes are not deceiving you. That is a Dis Candle unit.
Flavor text on that saying, knowledge can be very enlightening. Kehoe the Adventurer.
And we see a Snaglet discarded, and an Infernus is going to purge a Snaglet and a Poltergeist. Not the best things to be hitting here. You really want to be trying to hit, like, say, E-Dies to be knocking out that
could be a big problem in this matchup if he finds a way to purge those E-Dies with Infernuses.
Indeed. But George is going to have a bit of a think here as he decides on his house. Decent stack of a board here from Kidman. Got quite a few things. Going to fight the Snarette. Red Alert to knock out a fair few things, including the Infernus, Snarette, and Ghost Hawk gone the way of the Dodo there. Medic Ingram to ward the Frayne. And I am
chooses to ward the Frayne. I've been tempted by the Candle unit.
I think wanting to use it to fight this turn, so maybe trying to fight the Charybdis, I've got to think.
Maybe, but then he loses one. I just don't think it's worth fighting off the board, really.
I mean, I definitely would. I think the thing is, though, you're just going to be losing Ember left, right, and center over this. I would have happily fought it off the board.
If he fights, though, that's the thing. I just don't think it's a very fighty deck.
I mean, yeah, true. I just think leaving that to kind of like knock out your key pieces, it's a big creature. I'd be happy to
maybe
run into it. We obviously Untamed here goes for an Umbra Beast with an Ember pip on it. Elusive and Skirmish is Umbra Beast. Dark Fairy with another Ember pip on it. Fight game 2. Skirmish, and they're Lost in the Woods, going to shuffle away that Medic Ingram and that Candle unit.
And significantly putting his own Infernus back in the deck.
Yeah, we see a hologramophone here played out with a Group Think Tank and the first E-Die of the game, archiving something we don't know quite what. Both players, though, not seeing any big turns coming out yet, seeing like kind of like 2s, 3s of cards played thus far.
Both of them are happy to play a slower game, I think.
And we can see that Key Frog fights with the Dark Fairy. Does he have a way of destroying the Key Frog? Not quite. But still good to have on the board. Means George has to be a bit, makes it difficult for him to use that Group Think Tank because he would give Kidman a key. Oh, nope. Increase the key cost with the E-Die and then use the Group Think Tank. Solves that problem
nice
immediately.
And simple. And so the archiving begins.
Plays the Tau Vapors to archive something, draw 2 cards. Going to play Wild Worm or play a Rock Rub, loses an Ember from Kidman. Plays the Entropic Swirl, just hits that Group Think Tank to get 2 Ember. Only puts a damage on it, wards the E-Die. Now this is pod racing.
Pod racing indeed.
But yeah, fast, rapid key force from both players here. We're going to try and keep following the action as much as possible. But a bit of a lull here as Kidman decides on his turn. What are your thoughts of the game so far, Callum? Who do you think's doing well?
It's hard to say at this point. George has gone through 2 E-Dies, which I think more than he would want to go through this point. But he's got the hologramophone down. He started to stack up his archive with the disc creatures that he doesn't want, and Kidman's at check. Isn't at check despite having 6, which is where I think George wants him to be.
Yeah, and we see the Thera Centurion there coming down, capturing 1, warded by the Defense Initiative, as well as Perfectus Ludo after the third was exalted, and a Sagittarius Gaze to put on that Ember onto that Group Think Tank. Going to use a Twin Bottle mission, knock off those wards, Group Think Tank to activate, put some damage on both creatures, and is then going to fight with the E-Die, taking off that ward token just to take out the Ludo. Clearly wants to get that Ember off the Thera Centurion, and then going to reward it with a hologramophone again.
I think not unreasonable, given there's 3 Centurions and a Spoils of Battle, and a Savage Clash here, potentially significant.
Yeah, we do see that Fandangle going to come down as well, and I think Fandangle could be really strong in this matchup because a lot of the time Kidman is going to have more than 4 Ember because George isn't really about taking Kidman's Ember. He's about just letting him have a lot of Ember, saying you can have a lot of Ember, can't use it to forge. So I think Fandangle would be a really good target for George to be wanting to take out here.
Now we might fight it off the board, I think.
I think so.
And as predicted by you earlier, discards Dark Queen Gloriana. Doesn't want to pick up that Theros Centurion.
Definitely not. And yeah, we're going to see Edai now put behind that Lieutenant Kurikar, giving him
and George
that
is going pretty
protection.
well. He's already on a key and has got Kidman where I think he wants him, which is having an Edai that he's going to have a lot of problems removing because Lost in the Woods is gone, Savage Clash is gone. Can reclaim by nature the hologramophone.
And we have seen George getting a lot of use out of that. He also played the Frey's Blaster onto the Frey to take any Ember off of the Frey and into George's Ember pool the previous turn.
Yep. And is now going to start archiving things with Grey.
Information Officer Grey, revealing the Orb of Invidious from hand and archiving it. Clearly, George, you're not planning on playing that anytime soon. And there's another ward on the Edai. Clearly, very, very protective of that Edai. Like, sending your kids to school for the first time, don't want anything bad happening to it in the slightest.
This is the thing, right? Is that it doesn't even necessarily need to make him pay a bunch. As long as he just keeps stalling with these Edais and using the Star Alliance board to get Ember.
Indeed, yeah. And you can use the Star Alliance board really effectively to like, filter cards with the Grey, capture Ember with the Frey, and do a bit of fighting too. Now it's got those Light of the Archons on it. You know, this, and we see the Charybdis come back down, Theros Centurion come down too, and a Dark Centurion with a Scylla. That's a stacked board.
The Scylla is more of a problem. George has gone through both red alerts already, so that's a lot of the big removal. The groupthink tank's on as well. So we could start to see the Saurian board punching back and start taking out some of these Star Alliance creatures, which could give George some problems.
You've got to wonder what's in that archive. Maybe there's something like a Harbinger of Doom that could be worse.
The thing is, it's almost certainly just generic bad discards. That's usually the Tenebrous strategy. We've seen it a couple of times. So it's stuff like the Orb of Invidious, Bloodshard Imp.
This may be true, but I think the thing that you're missing here is that if we have, say, like the Bloodshard Imp, but we could have, say, a Exhume to then bring back the Edai, still keep that key cost higher, not as high as it is now, would let Kidman forge a key, but maybe George's thinking, letting him forge his first key means that I can get in a good position to get rid of all of this Saurian that could be really problematic for me later and stop my deck doing as much. And
he's
George is
doing
having
a think
here,
which I think is reasonable. This is potentially a big problem in the matchup so far.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be, he's got to be considering picking up that archive for ill or not what's in it. And like even stuff like that Orb of Invidious could be good to get down here. You know, Kidman not got the greatest ways of getting Ember without just like doing a lot of reaping. Orb of Invidious could really limit that.
I don't think he will. I think he's going to stick with his long game plan and get to the point where one Edai can increase the cost by like 15 or something, and he just has Logos and Star Alliance left.
This is true, but again, we are looking at him quite close to redrawing too. I don't know.
This is true. It's gone Star Alliance.
I think this is just more of a difference in strategies between us, where I tend to be the more reactive player and will want to be like in a situation to, you know, help deal with this. You're kind of the more kind of you're more going for like a longer game plan than I.
Well, it's not even as much as me specifically. It's just Tenebrous and how it functions and how we've seen George play before.
I'm going to see that Scylla taken down there by a combination of Star Alliance, an alliance, if you will, of the stars. We're going to see warding the Information Officer Grey. The Information Officer Grey is going to fight that Theros Centurion, get that Ember back, putting George onto check, revealing the Evil Eye, archiving.
Lost 2 for 2 fights there, but still gets to check at 7 just from getting Ember back from the Theros Centurion.
Yep, and Kidman here, if he uses Saurian, could fight his way through to take out that Edai if he so wants, and he is going to go Saurian here, so I think that might...
I've got to think he will take out that Edai. He kind of knows that his path to victory ultimately has to go through getting rid of these
especially
Edais.
with that Ludo down as well. I maybe would have considered running the Theros Centurion into it, just to get rid of that Ember, but I can see both sides of that argument. And he's going to play Citizen Tricks to steal one, knocks George off the check.
Captures again. So now we're at a big risk point for George because all 3 Edais are in the discard pile. He's just at this huge spoils of battle. He does not have a good answer to this giant Saurian board.
I disagree with that. So I think what we're going to see here is going to see the pickup of the archive. I think we're probably going to see an Evil Eye, and we're going to see an Exhume of an Edai.
Nah, I think if he has those things, he's not archived them. He'll have just kept them in his hand.
No, I think you definitely archive them because, like you say, you archive predominantly the disc here, and we are going to see disc. We're going to see. Okay, we're going to see a candle in play. I don't think you never pick up the archive. I think like you definitely there are situations in which you pick up the archive because you have stuff like the Evil Eye to make a key here cost 9. I think that's worth it.
He held the Exhume.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Held the exhume, but I still think there's if he doesn't have the exhume here, if he's archived it for whatever reason, he can also then pick up the archive
He
exhume.
would just never do it. It's not in the game plan. We've seen him do it before, man.
I disagree. I think like there's options where both of those could happen.
Nah.
Okay,
Anyway,
look, I think we're disagreeing here, but I think both would be fine strategies, and that definitely could happen. So,
man, these fucking closed hands are killing me. I need to know. I want to know what's in the archives, but I cannot see it. Kidman doing, I think.
Yeah.
Because the guys have returned again. George getting the reshuffle in before any of them got purged with the Infernus.
And Charybdis going to fight the Malison, removing all the ammo from Charybdis, going to fight the Candle unit down as well.
And is now thinking some more. And these big Saurians are a problem. There's a chance he can now redraw the red alert to try and do this.
Going to do some fighting here. Yep, use the Thousand Truant to fight, capture one. And of course, the really good thing here is the Ludo out is that you can do all this fighting, just take away all George's Ember here. And like George, not the quickest deck at building up Ember. So this is like a real setback for George, losing all that Ember that was taken by the Spoils of Battle.
Can he get another Edie here? He's played Tatar Vapors.
Almost
he's
certainly.
Another Tatar Vapors.
Almost certainly, with the deck this thin at the moment and so much stuff archived, I'd be more surprised if we don't see a Edie here.
Does not find one.
Mm-hmm.
So key goes to Kidman.
Key does go to Kidman, and yeah, George can't be happy with that.
No, it's not ideal at all. He's getting to the point where he's starting to filter out his entire deck, but he's just not quite there. And the appearing of all the big Saurians all at once, enough sort of big fighty energy to get around the taunt means that he's in a rough spot. And Kidman's looking much more reasonable. Very considered matchup this, because we've seen a lot of games where it's been just go fast, do quick, obvious things, but this is much more of a sort of back and forth. Both decks are heavy on the Ember control and are trying to do specific things.
Yeah, so George discarding Light of the Archons there can't be too disappointed by losing that, to be honest. It's not really a massive part of his game plan. Useful card, don't get me wrong, but
it's not an Edie, it's not an Exhume, so I think you're happy.
And yeah, Waking Nightmare just gonna obviously increase key cost George, nowhere near forging a key. But yeah, it's interesting what we see here. Kidman on 9. It's whether George is going to chance trying to redraw a Ludo and Edie, whether he has redrawn an Edie already, or will he have to go for a different direction?
11 cards, 5 in the deck. 10 cards, 5 in the deck, 5 in hand. Gotta think he's either got the Edie or the Exhume.
Gonna go for the Library of the Damned to archive. And yep, does go for the Exhume, is gonna hit that Edie.
The problem is that without the hologramophone.
Yeah, and we also now starting to get the risk of Kidman potentially drawing background to that Infernus. He's drawn through his whole deck now. That Infernus could potentially be coming back and could be starting to hit those Edies.
He's got it, right? So
does he?
He reshuffled it in with Lost of the Woods.
Reshuffled with Lost in the Woods, okay.
So we know he's got it because the deck's empty now.
And we do have 2... Oh, no, we don't have any Edies. So all the rest of the Edies must either be, I presume, in hand at this point or in the deck. But at the very least, they're not in the discard. But we could definitely see this Edie being fought into by a Cinder or a Bone Sword.
Yeah, if he can get rid of even one Edie, it's really big.
I think the thing that he'll go for is the Edie and the Exhume. Because the Exhume is crucial to be able to get that Edie out of house and keep your Logos turns like nice and fast and big.
Also hit big with the Mark of Dis here, because he puts them into Star Alliance, which means there is no Edies, no Exhumes. So you're going to get a turn where you forge for 6. You probably get red alerted, but you're like, fine, that's not. I get a key.
Yeah, I'm going to see Dark Minion there getting 2, and this is a really commanding position for Kidman here.
I mean, spicy enhance there.
I think and we're going to see a Bonesaw fighting groupthink tank as well. Waking Nightmare just to increase George's key cost to 11, and we're going to see Star Alliance. This might be game for George. I don't really know how he gets back from this.
I mean, that'll help, but it's a big problem for him.
Yeah, and doesn't get any of that Ember back either. Of course, that Perfectus Ludo was still out when he had to use that big Ember control. Kidman's definitely going to get a second key here, and it's still going to be on 9 Ember, which is plenty. With one less Edie in the deck, without that Exhume, things are going to get a lot tougher for George from here on out.
Yeah, I just don't necessarily see how he's going to pull it back. Obviously, every E-die makes a key basically unforgeable.
Lost in the Woods actually really powerful here, just meaning that it's less and less like to hit those EDOs on the draw, kind of like just putting stuff back in the deck when you much prefer have it out on the field.
And also takes away a taunt, which he could have used to protect the E-die in the absence of a hologramophone.
Indeed, yeah. And we are going to see Logos as House Groupthink Tank coming on down. Twin Bolt Emission going to hit the Attendant and the Techno Beast. There comes the E-die. Okay, going to knock Kidman off check. Hits that Ember cost up to 18.
But without the
And
phone,
Tropic Swirl gonna take that out, and there it is on the field.
Creatures off the board, bit of time.
And yeah, George slowly building us Ember here. You know, on 4 Ember, we've seen a lot of the kind of control is now in the discard. You got stuff like Infernuses. Waking Nightmare has been shuffled back in, but stuff like Lost in the Woods is gone too.
And I think significantly, with only 7 cards in the drawer and 3 cards in the discard pile, he's getting to the point where he'll be able to have an E-die every turn.
He will indeed, yeah. And it's that Infernus.
Very minimal.
Yeah.
Sorry, turn.
That Infernus is going to take a long time for Kidman to draw back round to as well. Now it's buried deep in the discard pile. This is not a fast deck. And that was all he did was Scylla and Sagittarius Gaze. Not a great turn for Kidman.
No, quite poor. If there's a Medic Ingram coming down here. Okay, just going to take some more discards away.
Archive, yet another card. Plays that Light of the Archons, Chief Engineer Walls. I don't... returns the Frane's Blaster as well. Going to be happy with that. Getting himself another bit of gets himself onto check.
And this is... it's close. It's
a big
Kidman's just trying to get there.
And there is potential that Kidman is going to run out of steam here, would be my concern for him. You know, like we know he's got a lot of Ember control in this deck, but I think the other thing that we're kind of like that maybe is worth a think here is that George is kind of running out of like stuff with say pips on for Infernus to hit, stuff with pips on for Mindfire to hit, and is going to get a second key as Kidman can't stop him.
I think if you're George, you're worried about Key Frog Savage Clash. Does that work?
I don't believe it does, no, because the destroyed effect happens before the E-die leaves the board, I'm pretty sure.
But a potential of fighting into the E-die with something.
I think you definitely want to keep
to take out first.
Minimal Saurian creatures on the board if possible, if you're George, because of that risk. We're going to see a Reap with Chief Engineer Walls, which is going to lead to his destruction. Lieutenant Krukar get next that E-die, discards the red alert.
And that makes it much harder to hit the E-die before the Savage Clash.
Indeed it does.
And now
I think we may see like a Reap from from Information Officer Gray take out that Ghost Hawk. I could see. I'm going to see Fighting Scylla and just going to take out the Scylla then with the Blaster. I imagine.
I assume so. Yeah, wants to be able to.
There it is. It's gone. And yeah, and I suppose now with that Kurukar down, doesn't have to be as mindful of that Starlight's Ball, but is going to take out the E-die. You see a Snarette come down. Uses Mindfire.
Tropic Swirl.
But again, though, not getting that steal, not getting that Ember control that you'd normally expect from that card. And we've got to see, we're going to see another E-die coming on down here.
So, behind the taunt yet again. George playing this very carefully. He's got his reps in with Tenebris, and you saw him the previous turn Reap with Walls to kill it, so he had some space for the taunt next to the E-die.
Yeah, but I think just having a bit of a think here. I mean, maybe I think what you're looking at here is it's just there's not actually that many cards left to archive with an E-die, or maybe he doesn't have the E-die, and that's where the Wild Wormhole's coming from. Tautau Vapors. Okay, gonna go for the draw.
So I think he must now have it, right?
He must now have it. I think maybe what he was doing there was thinking, right, I've only got one E-die left for whatever reason, which we've seen one destroyed. So yeah, thinks, well, if I hit it off the Wild Wormhole, the E-die gets played. Oh no, I suppose you could have done it in any order. Strange one for me, but maybe you didn't have other cards that you wanted archived. I don't know. I assume there's a good reason. I'm just not sure what it is.
Plays another Tautau Vapors. And this is what's interesting now, is that usually by the time he's got down to this 0 deck situation, he's got enough Ember to win the game.
Uses the Groupthink Tank. Twin Bolt Emission, gonna presumably hit the Snarette and the Groupthink. The Snarette and the Kurukar. That is interesting. And Entropic Swirl to kill the Snarette.
I think he
Count?
deliberately put Star Alliance cards back in to draw and archive.
Ah, I see. I think, yeah, this is the thing, just running out of cards to archive here.
Yeah, like he's got 3 cards left
He
to
is
draw,
literally half of his deck is in his archives at this
and then
point.
6 of it's been purged.
Yeah, 2/3 of his deck are currently not in his draw pile,
So
hand,
I think
discard, or on the board.
his deck is literally just how now it was like 2 Tau Taus, 2 Entropic Swirls,
I mean,
an Edai.
we can count it pretty much at this point. Yeah, there's one other Edai, there's 2 Entropic Swirls, there's 2 Tau Taus.
And this is the thing, right? Against a deck that doesn't have the extensive Ember control that Wordfoot has, he would have just won by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's had to play a game that went so long.
Yeah, he had that massive turn where so much of the Ember was lost to the Spores of Battle.
Like
And
a full key's worth, and he just never got it back.
Here, he's going to play the Charybdis, going to play the Theros Centurion to capture one, Citizen Tricks to steal one. And it's just like 18 Ember in Kidman's pool. Spores of Battle just to take all of George's Ember once again.
I think this might be it, because I think we're now in the sort of entropic swirl loop.
Yeah, and the group think tank here is going to be able to do some
it's going to take that
work.
out. It's going to get all that Ember back. And I think he might have done it.
I think group think tank is always underappreciated in this deck, because what you're doing is just making so that you can't really play more than one creature, because this group think tank just keeps killing your stuff.
Just keep taking stuff out.
You know, that's like better than ammonia clouds every turn. Like you only have to pay 2 chains to get a volcano every turn, and even then it would affect all your creatures
and it doesn't
too.
affect your own creatures. Yeah.
Gonna play Light of the Archons with a wild wormhole.
Oh, nice.
Puts on the Edai. Yeah, gets it a bit more protection.
Yeah. I mean, he's just gonna loop now, right?
I mean, yeah, he's got those Entropic Swirls still, which are gonna hit, say, the Theros Centurion for a couple.
Also, there's only 2 cards in the discard pile. He's got another Tau Tau.
Twin Bolt Emission, yeah, gonna hit the Scylla and the Thero.
This deck is ridiculous.
This deck is crazy. There's a Entropic Swirl, gets himself a couple more Ember. And the Tau Tau Vapors to draw them all again. And yeah, this is just... Yeah, this is the thing. He's 20 cards archived. There's 6 cards in his hand, draw, and discard.
He just cannot refill his hand. But I think might make it, because he's on 9.
Twin Bolt Emission, I'm going to assume hitting the group thing. And yeah,
he's on 11. Oh, this is ridiculous.
12 on the group thing, dang, just to... Why not?
He has done it. No cards in discard, no cards in the draw, 6 cards in hand. 2 Entropic Swirls, 2 Tau Taus, an Edai, and I think a Wild Wormhole. 6 Logos cards, and that might be enough for this ridiculous nonsense. This deck is ridiculous. I've said it before. I said it during the Jack Chat, but this is some nonsense.
Except when your opponent has 18 Ember and can't forge a key.
Can't do it.
Mark of Dis into Logos.
And there it is. Damn, that was close.
That was very close. Very
running out of cards there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, very impressive. We'll now join you in game 2.
What?
So, welcome to game 2 of the episode. We have Kidman on the top of the screen, and he's playing Weirdfoot, the Chieftain boss, once again, sticking with. And on the bottom screen, we have George playing Charlatan Feodora, Turbo Smack.
So we have Mass Mutation versus Mass Mutation. We have Pretty Big Rush versus lots and lots of Ember Control. So it could be very interesting.
Yeah, I think this is like, we kind of talked about this in the deck chat, but this is maybe not the best matchup for Turbo Smack. You know, quite a lot of mutants on the other side of the board, kind of limiting the usefulness of stuff like Revolt's Blessing.
Yep, just confirming that we're all good to go.
And also you've got this stuff like Reclaimed by Nature, which means that you're going to have like a limit on how long you're going to be able to benefit from that Dav too.
Yeah, you got to assume that does not stick around long, but the deck's reasonable without it.
I mean, definitely not. I mean, especially when I think that's the only artifact in the deck too.
I think there's
a Monument to Faust as well.
Which is not nothing.
No, not nothing. Ain't nothing to fuck with. And we see best card in the game right off the bat.
It's over. George has won. Give him the match.
It's got 3 power and 3 damage pips. You can't compete. I'm going to see an Umbra Beast and a Fandangle on this side. Bold going Fandangle this early when, you know, you're not got threatened. You'll be obviously immediately taken out. That's how good Mute Cutpurse is. Just no messing about. Takes out a Fandangle. Not even a second thought.
Plays a tempting offer on the Umber Beast, which is interesting because it does have an Ember pip on it.
It does, yeah.
So effectively giving him 2 Ember.
Yeah, and we're going to see spoils of battle here. So actually George didn't have enough to capture, so it's just an Ember for Kidman. He's going to capture an Ember with that Ghost Hawk Player Dock Ember Vault. Player Vault's Blessing just for the Ember. Punctured Equilibrium.
What's he got? What's he got? Hits the Infernus.
Ooh.
Big hit. Hits the Waking Night with all the captures. Hits the Lost in the Woods. I think he's
Mhm.
got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think the only way he'd be happy with that is if he's hit the Reclaim by Nature. I think he'd be thrilled at that point. They'd be dancing on the streets of Georgetown if that was the case. But still, very nice set of cards to hit.
It's confusing because Georgetown's a real place.
It is, yeah, that's why I said it. And there's the Reclaim by Nature immediately on the Dark Ember Vault. That's rough.
Oof. That is rough.
But I mean, I think if you're George, you just got to be going. It's going to happen eventually. Like, it would have been nice to get a turn or two, but still got 3 draws off of it with the Dark Fairy, Cephaloist, and Fandangle.
And took a not great Untamed turn to do it as well. Like, correctly so, but...
And we are going to see fighting here with the Dark Fairy, do a bit of damage, and then just reaping straight up to 6 with that 2 from the fight of the Dark Fairy.
The thing is now, so even if he takes it off check, he has to get rid of the Fandangle as well, probably.
Yeah,
not too hard with the Theros Centurion.
Definitely not, no. Of course, Fight of the Dark Fairy, a popular opera by Chopin. And the Citizen Trick's going to steal 1 defense initiative, gets those wards on the board. And George straight into Saurian, doesn't even stop to think about it.
Chunky Dino action.
He gets a Ludo down, gets a Monument to Faust down. Spoils the battle.
Yep, I mean, with your own Ludo down.
Ember flying all over the place. But there is Ludos in Kidman's deck that he can definitely play with the wards. I suppose it's less of a threat that those Ludos are going to come in suddenly and be able to lose that Ember, but still a little bit risky. Giving your opponent that much of your Ember when they've got that big Saurian stuff to deal with.
So we can conclude from this that what did Kidman ban? What was the deck number 3? I'm opening my documents. Did ban Razormere. Mark of Dis is potentially very unhelpful.
Yep, into Saurian. Didn't take the best Saurian turn last turn, did George? So got to think he hasn't got the best Saurian turn to take this turn. But what are we going to get?
No. He also has a potentially big continuing problem here, George, because his big removals are the 2 Axioms.
And discards the Axiom as well.
Because it just doesn't really help him that much, right?
I mean, he gets rid of, the Brabble, loses you Ember, getting rid of the Cinder, meh. Yeah.
4 out of the 6 creatures are not the ones you want to kill.
Yeah, the ones you actually want dead, not going to get deaded.
So we could have a big problem because a lot of this board could stick between big capture and sort of already being about.
I think, this is going to be the problem. Like, Word of Returning could do some work here.
Yes, that could be very big, especially with all those wards, obviously.
Yeah, and obviously Word of Returning gets around those wards and does just get that Ember back into George's pool. I've got to think he's digging for that. Will he find it, though, as Kidman does get onto check on 7. George is going to go Shadows, plays the Shadow Smith. We're probably going to hit a ward here, maybe, or possibly on that Citizen Shrix, I think. Nope, goes for the Theros Centurion in the middle there. Plays a subtle lotto. Discards the Prefectus Ludo. Big discard. Bone kniving. Doesn't get a steal one. Just gets played. Tempting offer. Gonna knock another ward off. Doesn't return.
Well, it makes it harder to fight with the Theros, I think.
Yeah.
And also, I think he's digging for that Word of Returning. He wants all of that back at once.
I think in a way, though, the Shadowsmith, because of that, could not be worse, but almost as a bit of a double-edged sword. Because you've now got those Theros, numerous things they can fight in that are elusive. And just be able to capture Ember without taking any damage.
Also, I think he's unwadding things because then the Word of Returning's killing the creature function.
Yes, true.
Wouldn't want it now because of the Ludo, but may have wanted it before.
Well, I think with the Word of Returning, it's kind of okay with the Ludo because it still returns all the Ember, unless I'm wrong.
I think it's the other way around. I'm checking. No, it's damage, then returns.
Right, but it does. But like with the Theros Centurion, it's fine because it's still the Theros Centurion is still gonna survive, so it's still gonna get that Ember back.
It will, but it might rack up some damage in the meantime. Hits big with the Heist Knight.
It does indeed. Yeah, gets a nice 3 steal, gets a borrow, nothing to borrow. and then just does a reap with a subtle auto, doesn't care about it dying, nor does he care about the Shadowsmith. But still haven't seen that Word of Returning God. I think it's been buried deep in the deck, or just hasn't had a good Untamed turn to play it on. And I
Yeah, we saw
suppose,
quite a bit of Untamed at the beginning.
yeah, and I suppose the thing is that Kidman doesn't have a good way of getting rid of his own Saurians at this point, which is what he really needs to do just to kind of like slough that Ember off with that Ludo.
Yeah, you can start doing a bit of it with the Dark Centurion, but you would want stuff to like fight into.
Mm-hmm. And
Potentially just reaps out here.
I think that does seem the most likely one. Citizen Tricks is going to get Exalted, which, it's more Ember for George Stick, but he is everyone stolen, so kind of a net positive for Kidman.
He's going to lose another one to Snoret. Oh, he fights the shouldered off the board. So actually, let's George steal one that's still
here
back.
we see the Untamed God. I think we're going to see
have it.
a Word of Returning. And maybe that's why he's left the ward on that Citizen Tricks, actually, because
yeah, I think that absolutely is, because then he wants that Ember back.
doesn't want it to die first. So George having a little bit of a think here, taking a second,
13 Ember on the table.
surveying his domain.
What riches I have before me.
Indeed. And some good creatures to get rid of as well. Getting rid of that Snoret, getting rid of that Thera Centurion is pretty nice. But this is a pivotal turn, I think this will be. Because I think the thing with here is that Kidman has surely been like at least somewhat setting up for this. He's known this was coming. He's been kind of waiting for this, and presumably has some kind of response in line. I don't know what the response is. I'm just kind of look at the deck list. Like Waking Nightmares could be pretty good. Bump up that key cost.
Yeah, we've only seen one Waking Nightmare and not many of the disc creatures.
But yeah, I've got to think with only 6 cards left in the deck, he's been holding at least one of those for a little while. I haven't seen Dis. And I got to think if he wanted to play that Dis turn, we would have seen him play Dis and use the Snoret just to take that Ember off it.
Alternatively, there's a scenario where he just starts to reap out with Saurians, hoping to essentially beat George to the punch, even if he has a huge amount of Ember on him.
Oh no, we have seen both Waking Nightmares because one was discarded by the Punctuate Equilibrium.
Oh, we have, yes. We're professionals.
Yeah, we got there in the end. It's fine. That's why there's 2 of us. We can pick up on each other's things. And there's the Word of Returning. George goes to 18 Ember.
Whew.
Lost in the Woods. I'm going to shuffle in the Frex Ludo and the Citizen Tricks.
He's racked up some damage on some other stuff as well.
Really
but
has,
yeah.
Ember Spine
real
Mongrel
big.
too. And now Ember Spine Mongrel, hard to fight into for these creatures.
Yeah, because of the damage.
Deals 1 damage to Snoret with the Vault's Blessing.
Kidman is on a 3-turn clock, approximately.
Yeah, but does have some good things to deal with. Some Ember.
Well, a lot of the big Ember answers have gone, right? So the Waking Nightmares, the Spoils of Battle.
This is true, actually. Yeah, we are going to see Untamed.
Frog. So if he can
Savage Clash has got to think we're going to see here. Although, no, maybe not, though, because I wouldn't have thought we played the Gloriana's Attendant before. No, we don't, because I would think if you had the Savage Clash, you would have played it after the Dark Fairy, leaving the Dark Fairy alive, killing the Key Frog.
Potentially speeds himself up, but George can just take out this Key Frog.
I suppose it's also, it kind of is forcing George to take out the Key Frog, though, because the problem is otherwise Kidman can forge on this turn if George can't stop him, but does hit the Monument of Faust.
So I think maybe just has made the calculation that he doesn't have the ability to stop like 14, 15 Ember.
No.
Maybe that's good for 2 keys.
I'm just checking. Yeah, no, we don't have a Song of the Wild to double up Ember, which is maybe what I was thinking, but not the case. Curse of Vanity here. An Axiom of Grisk.
Axiom of Grisk following the Word of Returning.
I forgot about the second. I only remembered the first.
I put it from my mind because there was so much Ember on creatures.
Brutal.
Oh, that's rough.
And Kidman getting a bit of a board back, but George forging and still left on 7 after the Thera Centurion and the Citizen Tricks is played. I don't see how Kidman can come back from this.
Yeah, George is probably going to get a couple more Ember here. You can actually just keep Kidman off check if he wants with the Saurians. Probably will take a different turn.
I think you could just kind of like do a bit of a. Well, you've got plenty of creatures on the board to kill. You can crit that Ludo first, which hopefully you can. George having a think here.
And I've got to say, both sides play in both these matches so far has played this excellently.
Yeah,
I
I
think they're
think
both doing what they need to try and win, setting up their outs. I think
yeah.
some excellent play all around.
I think there's the thing is that like Kidman has kind of played excellently to get himself in a strong dominant position in both games. But I think George's decks are just so reactive, so good at just kind of like holding on by his fingertips in what looks like a dire situation and then slowly clawing his way back, punching the deck into submission and throwing him off the cliff to stand tall.
Yeah, and I just think they have the relevant answers as well. Like Word of Returning, one card, absolutely swung this matchup
Yeah,
in his favor.
devastating. As
He's
Kidman
going to
is going to
force
force
a
a second
key.
key.
George on 9.
Yeah.
What's he got?
We've seen the Spoils of Battle already, and that'd be the big kind of Ember control you need
We've
here.
seen
Reap with the
but
Citizen Tricks to steal one, fight with the Thera Centurion to capture one.
we can't even reap because he gets one from the Ember
Oh,
Spine
of
Rumble.
course, yeah. I suppose could fight with the Charybdis first, and then fight with the Ludo. Oh no, couldn't even fight with
There
the.
it is.
There it is. Win for George.
Word of
GJ999
Returning MVP.
EP.
Followed by a brutal Axiom of Grace having taken all of the Ember off.
Yeah. But no, the Axiom and Wood are returning both two key cards, key plays that just I think completely swung this matchup.
And I didn't connect. I didn't make the connection in the like deck chart or beforehand that like that one after the other is so crushing.
Indeed, it is. Yeah. But yeah, I think as George is saying in the chat here, pushed it real close. I think that's true for both games. I think both games could have swung on a halfpenny at any point, but George has managed to eke out the win.
Word of the day: halfpenny or eek. What do you want?
I'll go for halfpenny.
Halfpenny it is. Word of the day is halfpenny, and yeah, like the score on the spreadsheet reflects that Kidman lost 2-0, but I think it does not reflect how close both of those games were.
Definitely not. But
like if George finds Word of Returning one turn later, then I think he loses. And I think if
I think also you look at stuff like that Ludo being discarded so early was key as well. That was one that if he'd could have got that early, could have like fought some things, dropped some member off. It could have been a very different game. But it's an excellent sportsmanship for both players. And we will dash up into the night and leave you here. I have been David Baron von Fabulous Lark.
And I've been Callum, the good Dr. Young.
We have been Scrooge on Commentaries. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hi guys, welcome to the third game of the episode. As you guys know, the game only went to 2 games, but because of that, we always like to add on a bit of a sealed game at the end, just so it's not obvious who wins the second game, because if it goes to the second game and it's only like 10 minutes long, there's 10 minutes left of the video, you're probably going to work it out and go, oh, okay, George definitely wins that second game. Whereas with this, we can add a bit more kind of like mystery to this, stop that being clear who wins. So also just a bit of fun sealed gameplay between myself and Callum.
Lark says it's fun. I say it's crushingly competitive and of great significance.
But yeah, so okay, an interesting deck here. I think I'll keep this hand. Oh no, I accidentally clicked Mulligan, so I guess we're mulliganing this hand.
Oh dear. Well, I hope you're ready for this unstoppably powerful first turn.
Is it? Oh, wow. Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give up now.
I might. It's tempting. No, my bang.
It's being aggressively murdered.
Is there any other kind of murder?
No, not really.
Interesting you didn't use that Squawker.
Ah, shit. I showed you that, didn't I?
Or is this all a ruse? Is that what you want me to think?
Well, no, I'm going to say that I could probably get a better use out of it than unstunning the Dominator in Coat of Mars.
That's true. Oh, it's Coat of Mars, is it?
Yeah, because I've played you know it's Squawker.
Oh, I don't play Mars. I don't know what the cards are. Seki. Sequis, Seki. People say different things.
I always say Sequis.
I say Sequis too. You got Inspiration and Squawker? What is this?
Yeah, man, all the stupid shenanigans.
Well. Ready and use. Ooh, that's cool. Okay. We should do that. So let's do some of them that are untamed.
Oh, nice.
The temptation to bring the Gromid back was strong, but I resisted.
You decided not to go for Gromid there.
Did not know.
That's kind of...
Yes, I'm sure Sequus was very confused as his new Dominator friend just turned and punched him in the face.
Yeah, it was a little bit distressing. Poor boy.
Let's do some of them on them that are untamed boyos. Yeah, look how big they are.
Yeah, this is a slight problem.
Massive lads. Massive lads.
Especially as I discarded the phosphorus stars.
You did. You did.
So I think it's time for this.
You silly goose. No, my things. How dare you? Oh, okay. Well.
Oh shit, it's a fog bank. That was not. Jesus.
What did you think it was?
Lost in the woods.
Yeah, it's very different cards. Oh, interesting. Okay.
But the art is look at the art's pretty similar looking. They're both like big green.
Yeah, I guess. Right. Let's play you. Fight with you to kill. Oh, reaping, isn't it? Okay, I've got. Oh well, reap's fine too.
Yeah, no fighting.
No farting, Tommy. And I'd rather not my things get stunned, so we'll just play this. And let's do another one of them that are reaps. Oh, cool.
Safe to say, this is not the Kodo Untamed you really want to be.
No, not quite.
You really want to be seeing.
Not quite. No, my Pampaka, how dare you? Okay.
Yeah, took out that guy. Face the unstoppable power of the ancient bear.
You did. Let's go with some Murs.
Murs? Mother gun.
Stun Gravekeeper and stun Sequus.
Okay, this is interesting now. Let's try this. I think this is probably enough to hopefully make this worthwhile.
Oof. Oh dear, oh dear.
I did not have the thing I was looking for.
Why didn't my Mars have battle fleas? Blatant favoritism.
I can make you pay. Or do I? Yeah, you know, I think I'll keep you. Try and keep you off Shaka.
Fair enough. Maybe that's what I wanted you to do.
Maybe it was.
It wasn't. I don't know why I said that really. But you know what? Those Mars creatures are all gonna have a little bit of sleep.
Fair enough, my friend.
Oh no. I'll take the stun off these chaps.
I mean, there was some things that I was looking for, but I've not found them. So
no, McGrovey boy! How dare you?
Nice.
No, that's not great. Let's do. It is tempting. Yeah, pretty shit.
Yeah, you see, when we're not watching Keyforge, when we're playing Keyforge, we are much, much less capable of witty banter.
Yeah, it's more just a lot of like,
Still, it seems like neither of us has a decent board clear. Obviously, not to be too down on phosphorus stars.
Oh yeah, shit. Oh no, fix finger.
What a card! What a card!
Such an asshole.
Adding additional armor for no reason.
Why is it to both? Why did it need to be both?
It's not even both. It's Martians as well.
Yeah.
So like your 1 power Mindworm doesn't get it because he's not a Martian. He's a beast.
Racism is what it is.
He's pretty racist, to be fair.
Oh, and he's elusive as well. But you, prick. I mean, do I care that much? Probably not. I prefer to get you.
I'm not gonna lie, Agent Human is he's putting in a shift today.
He really is, yeah. Stunning all the lads. Will it be enough?
Also, to be fair, the fixed finger keeps your Agent Human safe from the bolter.
Oh wow! Oh, in that case, it's definitely worthwhile. I'd much rather have a live Agent Human than a dead Zookeeper. That's definitely if I'm given that choice. Oh boy, that's what I'd be choosing. Oh dear! Oh dear! Oh dear! Oh, rude.
I mean, I might be doing this just to taunt you.
Oh, is it killing the fixed finger?
Oh,
the think drone. Okay, I thought you were going to take it with a fixed finger.
No, that would have been.
That would have been a better. That would have
been probably the sensible thing to do.
I know. I was really hoping you would as well because I was going to do this, but I was hoping you'd forgotten the flamethrower because it's usually a bad card that people forget about, but you had not.
I had not forgotten it now.
Shit, didn't mean to play that. Meant to play that next turn, but well. I'm not with it today, boys and girls.
There sure are some boys here.
There are some lads.
A lot of big lads.
Right. What are we doing?
I hate playing these low speed decks. It's killing me.
Okay, let's go with some Brobs. Big, fighty lads.
It was nice having a board. I enjoyed it for a while.
Did you? That's a shame.
Yeah. And if you'd held on to the flex, that would have been brutal. Yeah, that might prove useful.
I did hope so.
Killed a whole bunch of things there.
Did kill quite a
whole
few
bunch of them.
Of your lands. That's very true.
Shit. Well, it's a good job you didn't flex because it doesn't mean you would have been much sadder when I did this.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would have been. I don't even like fair play. No, my Brobs. No. Rude. I mean, all right. I always forget you can just stun the same creature that's already stunned.
Yeah. H2-man's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Amazingly, though, I did finally draw this thing, and it'll actually go off, which is good.
I don't like the sound of that. Oh, that was
when was the last time you saw Irradiated Ember?
Not for a while. I might have got you, to be fair.
Who do I abduct here?
Yeah, you've got it. I can't. I have no Ember control in this deck at all. I'm surprised it took this long.
I'm gonna abduct the things that are not stunned.
Yeah, you won.
Oof. Yeah, Dex need Ember control.
I mean, I'm gonna look this up now, but I'm pretty sure the only Ember control this has is Gromid and Mind Warper. I think.
Yeah, I don't remember you taking
I'm
any Ember
surprised
off
it
the
took this
original.
long.
I mean, the reason it might have took this long is because this has 18 expected Ember, which is
I
not
mean,
very high.
yeah, but still, like, consider brand.
This is 58 SAS.
I think mine is much lower.
It may be.
Well, what's your guess? What's your guess? From what you saw of the deck, what's your guess? You saw every card in the deck, actually.
I think I'd probably go like low 60s.
You're incorrect. Think
Lower?
lower.
52.
Lower.
Really?
Yep.
48.
48, exactly.
Ooh.
Apart from effective power, it does not have a stat higher than 12.
Oh my god.
It has 12
That's
expected Ember, 1.1 efficiency, 0.9 Ember control.
Well, I will congratulate you for almost forging 2 keys with that.
I did well, yeah, man. I came pretty damn. I think I came pretty damn close. Like,
yeah. That was you were causing me some problems.
3 Tantadlins, you know, great, right?
Yeah, especially with all this archiving that I have. I guess actually could have got some of these creatures back that I zookeepered.
Yeah.
And abducted.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Yeah, the flex would have been nice to pull off, but I completely missed it.
Yeah, and you would have just got doorstepped anyway.
Yeah, it would have been like, of course, but oh well.
Yeah, this is why I was like, should I let him do that? I was like, no, because it doesn't help him, and it would only feel worse.
No, yeah, that would have been felt worse. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for watching. I've been David Barron von Fabulous Lark.
I've been Callum, the good Dr. Young.
We've been Team Scooch Bomb. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.